People always say that you have to have money to make money, and that there's an extraordinary level of sacrifice on the road to success. So how is it that investors like us, who didn't start out with much money and who don't rely on banks and credit, how is it that we can increase our income and build our wealth in a way that doesn't require us replacing one full-time job with another while still enjoying the things in life that matter most to us? That has always been the big question, and this podcast reveals the answers. I am Carrie Like, and this is the Investor Warrior. Hey y'all, and welcome to today's live stream. I have with me Dave Seymour, and I'm going to let him introduce himself, but I just wanted to read a couple things from his bio. So excited we got to connect, Dave. Where did we meet? We met in Clubhouse.
Clubhouse, that's where all the cool kids are these days. They're hanging out.
Down lately,
right. Yeah, Clubhouse. Yeah, we were moderators.
I was on Clubhouse till 10:30 last night. I usually go to bed pretty early. And so my husband was like, "Where were you last night?" I was like, "I was clubbing, you know?"
I was hanging out with some friends, honey. Honest. That's funny.
Exactly.
Downstairs. Good. Yeah, so,
Clubhouse. So Dave, you are a retired 16-year veteran of the fire service. You launched into the real estate career over a decade ago, and you've become one of the country's top investors. And you guys, within his first years, Dave transacted tens of millions of dollars into real estate. So you are an action taker, which I love. You've become one of the nation's leading experts in commercial multifamily transactions. You guys, Dave is a celebrity. He had his own show, Flipping Boston, and I'm going to
baby, Flipping Boston in the house.
Woo-hoo! You know, I'm going to be honest with you. You're my first. I've had some people on the show who have been on different news channels. You're my first celebrity who's had their own show.
Carrie, let me tell you, you never forget your first, darling. You never forget your first.
Also, you guys, Dave has like multiple accents. He's from Boston, but he's got this like European accent. It's just, I love it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I am an immigrant. Don't tell anybody. I'm an immigrant to the States. Yeah, I came over in '86. Was born in London. Grew up in the South Coast, a place called Andover in Hampshire, which was very rural, but it was an overspill. It's funny, you think about the migration we got going on today with COVID, right? It was similar back in the late 60s, early 70s in England. People didn't want to be in the big cities, Birmingham and Manchester and London. And a lot of families moved to the countryside, as we call it. And that's where I grew up. Yeah, but came over in '86, followed my first wife over, actually. I was working in a bar and restaurant in London. It was right next to the Cutty Sark. If you've ever been to London, there's a boat there called the Cutty Sark, and it's in Greenwich. And there's a bar and restaurant in the Greenwich Theater. And I met my first wife there, who was an American. I was young. I was young and in love, and I followed her from London to Wheeling, West Virginia.
Wow, that must have been.
Yeah. I tell you, funny story. I landed in Wheeling, West Virginia, or as they say down there, Wheeling by God, West Virginia. And it was real, man. It was beer bellies and ball caps and chewing tobacco and yuns and y'all. And I'm like, what the frick is going on, man? I'm like, I'm an alien in an alien nation. But anyway, yeah, I moved around the States a little bit, eventually landed up here in Boston. And, I've been a New Englander for quite a while now.
Yeah, very cool.
In the fire service. Yeah, it's been a trip. It's been it's been a biblical journey, Kerry, to say the least. It's been a journey.
I remember. So you guys, I'm from Rhode Island, and I've got family in Boston, and I don't have an accent. I don't know if I ever had an accent when I was up there, but I've gotten a Southern accent since I've been down here. And when I went to college, my college roommate was from Stark, Florida, which is very Southern, very Florida. And we became best friends. But when we first moved into the dorms together, we couldn't communicate with each other, because I would be like, "That's wicked cool." And she'd be like, "Wicked." Yeah. And then she'd be like, "I'm fixing to go to the Jiffy store." And I'm like, "What the hell does that mean?"
Yeah. You know what's funny? You say you don't have an accent, but it's only people from Rhode Island who say Rhode Island. All right. And you still say Rhode Island.
I think my accent comes out when I start talking to other people. We've actually got Mark Pellets on here too, who's from Boston, huge Boston person, Boston fan. So you guys also, you can comment, ask any questions as we're going here. I will monitor the comment box, the chat box here. So as we're going along, if you have any questions for myself or for Dave, feel free to ask, and I will get to them. So
absolutely. That's my wife's from Rhode Island. She's a Woonsocket Rocket. And,
nice.
Only you and I know what dynamites are and stuffies and those kinds of things, right? So, we got the New England flavor. But look, I was a firefighter for 16 years, like you said in the intro. But look, unfortunately, and I think it's a common challenge, I was trained by my father in money and life, right? And my dad was a working class guy. So I was really good at trading time for money. And I was also good at spending money. Like I always say I was a financial donkey, right? A financial illiterate. Everyone else had a 401k, so I had a 401k. Everyone else traded time for money. I traded time for money. And it put me in a position where it wasn't good, Kerry. I kind of deliver the story with a little bit of humor today, but it really did cost me a lot. It cost me relationships. It cost me self-worth. I was $120,000. I was working 120 hours a week between 3 jobs, and I was carrying like $70,000 in unsecured debt, and my house was in pre-foreclosure when I started doing real estate. So don't ever tell me you need money to make money, right? Watching the intro, right? I had my own challenge, but anyway, I was working construction on my days off from the fire department. And I remember these real estate investors were showing up at my job, and their car was nicer than mine, and their shoes were cleaner than mine, and they seemed happier than I did, and they just had a little skip in their step, and I hated them. I'm like, I'm a business owner, and I'm digging ditches, and I'm like, I'm the last one who gets paid every week. What am I doing wrong, right? So that was an insight. That was like God tapping me on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, numbnuts, listen, will you? There's other ways of doing this stuff." Anyway, I went to a real estate seminar. It was a Whitney seminar from the Russ Whitney organization, right? Russ?
He's been Clubhouse lately.
Yeah, he's been in Clubhouse. God bless him, Russ.
He into a room the other day, and I was like, "Russ Whitney's pinging me."
Yeah, Russ Whitney. I got stories, boy. We won't throw them out here. But anyway, I became a student, and it was interesting, right? My wife, Mary Beth, today, my wife, the rock that I get to stand on so I can look cool. That's the way I describe it, right? She has no interest in business. She was a nurse, a labor and delivery nurse. I actually met her in an L&D when I was doing paramedic training. Not the place you go to fall in love is a labor and delivery room. But anyway, she has no interest in business, but she gives me that foundation, and she invested in me $27,000 in education on her credit cards because mine were maxed out. I think my FICO score was maybe 3 back then, maybe 4 on a really good day, right?
Now you could get that low.
Yeah, you could get that low if you try hard. If you're a financial donkey, you can really get that low. But look, anyway, she invested in me. She said, "Look, go get them, killers." She said, I'm proud of you. I love you. If you're going to go for this thing, go for it. I support you. And it gave me permission for the first time in my life to choose my own financial destiny, right? Because before that, right, show me who somebody gets their financial advice from. I'll show you what their financial future looks like. And, I went to this seminar, and there was a guy on the stage in a nice suit. And he was actually from Florida, and he had a story about his children being sick. and how he couldn't afford the medications and the treatments for his kids. And real estate gave him financial freedom, gave him the ability to take care of his family, which was something that somebody else had been in control of up until that point. And I looked at it and I said, you know what? These guys are onto something. And I just went for it. Kerry, I went for it with a vengeance, the same way I fight fires, all in. There's no half measures, And I got recognized as somebody who was actually doing it, a wholesale deal. I made $5,000, and then I did another wholesale, and then I did a fix and flip, and I did another fix and flip, and I'm buying a little bit of cash flowing stuff. And then A&E Network comes knocking on the door, and they're like, dude, you're a firefighter and you're a house flipper. You got a crazy story. Let's see if you're any good on camera. And I'm like, good on camera? Dude, do you know who I am? Right? And we started the reality TV world. And you know what's interesting? What's really interesting is I learned very quickly the power of reality TV. And I'll just let everybody know, if you want to know the reality of reality TV, give me a shout, and I'll let you in on the inside scoop. All right. But there's a lot of noise right now about reality TV, and it was good, and it had a good run, and it gave me recognition. But it was a nice stepping stone into what we do today in the commercial world. So that's my resume, or as we say back in England, my CV, which stands for curriculum vitae. Right? That's my CV.
Fancy. Very fancy.
That's fancy, isn't it? They're English. They're so snobby, right? They're so much better than anybody else. My CV.
Oh no, that's right. I don't watch a lot of reality TV shows like on the flipping shows and all that. I just don't watch a lot. I don't have time for TV lately. But when I do watch it, it's always at when I go to my hairstylist. She does hair out of her house, and she's always got the HGTV show. So every 8 weeks I go and I'm sitting there watching the reality TV shows. And we were just having this conversation yesterday, guys. Got my hair done.
Looks good. I got mine done this morning too.
Yeah, I like yours too. It's very nice. No, we were just having this conversation yesterday because we were watching one of the shows, and I'm like, must be nice to have an unlimited budget where you're staying in budget and you're getting work done right on time and everything just
every time. Yeah.
Into place. She's like, I often wonder like how real is this actually? And I'm like, it's not very real.
I always say to people, it's called a reality TV show, and they always forget the last word is show. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it has to have its cliffhangers. Oh my God, the water pipes just burst. What are we going to do, Bob? I don't know, Charlie. Let's go to commercial break and we'll be right back. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then everybody comes out at the end smelling like roses. So, it's BS, but it's entertainment. It gives you a, the funny thing, Kerry, because of I say a silly reality TV show, we kept ours to the point on numbers and finances because my partner was just so particular about that. But that national recognition is more valuable than anything else.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I didn't do a really good job of leveraging it afterwards. I let other people drive that bus and kind of let me down. But it put me on Squawk Box on CNBC. They'd call me in for a pundit's opinion. And I remember I found myself sitting in studio in New York. And it was around the really bad snow that we had up here in Boston. We got like 6 feet in 6 minutes, something ridiculous like that. And everybody had ice dams. And they called us in to do a little piece on real estate and the climate or whatever it was. And sitting next to me was the vice president of the Federal Reserve, right? And I'm thinking to myself, who's this guy, right? Who's this? Oh, done up nice with his suit and tie, right? And then they start having a discussion. I don't even remember what the topic was. But the vice president of the Fed looks at me and he goes, David, what do you think about that? And I'm like, me? Like, you know what I mean? And my firefighter brain, my technician brain, you need money to make money brain, like all of that shites from my past is screaming at me. You're a phony. Run, Forrest, run. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I feel that Forrest Gump moment. And then it was like, I turned around and I looked at it. I said, no, you earned the right to be here. You put yourself out. You committed capital. You committed time. You committed dreams. You believe in the law of attraction. You've got coaching. You've got, you got a team. You got mentorship, you know? And it's like I sat up straight and I gave him my deep opinion on whatever the topic was. And, you know, that was the power of TV, right? It wasn't just the entertainment factor. It was the ability to leverage it into something else, which was important. Oh, look, Mark Pellet's I knew Mark. He just texted me. We're in each other's phone. I'm going, I know Mark. I don't know what he said. What did he say? There you go. He goes, nice to see you on Kerry's live stream for a minute. Off to the slopes. Oh, life is good, Mark.
Living the life out there. He's skiing quite a bit.
Him. He says, looks like there's more snow in Boston today. He's absolutely right. I'm going to come camp out at your house when my partner's down there because it's too cold up here for me. So yeah, that's TV land, Kerry.
I'm so curious. It sounds like you became successful very quickly in the real estate world. What's your secret sauce? How that happened?
You know what? That's a great question. It's all or nothing. I mean, you know, the part-timers, the hobbyists, the dibble-dabblers, you know, I'll buy a house, I'll live in it for 3 years, I'll work on it, then I'll sell it for a profit. I'm an investor. No, you're not. You're a homeowner. You know what I mean? I was forced into action, to be very honest with you. I followed some really good people. I surrounded myself with people who were genuinely doing what I wanted to do, not just saying they were doing it, right? Trust, but verify everything. And I align myself with people who, look, I don't want to get kind of crazy with it, but reciprocity, right? For me to be successful, if I didn't have money, which I didn't, I needed to very, very quickly decide what it was that I could bring to the table that was more valuable than money, because money is just a tool. It's either in the toolbox or it isn't, right? So for me, my success was based off of the fact that I leveraged the crap out of my fire service career. People love firemen, so I leveraged that. I had great connections, obviously, in the city that I worked in as a firefighter for 16 years. I knew City Hall. I knew the inspectional services department. I knew the cops. I knew the good lawyers in town. I knew every street in the city. Like you could drop me off anywhere, open my eyes, I'll tell you what street I'm on. So when I started in 2008, when the market tanked, you know, everybody, it was like a fire, right? Everybody else was running out and the heroes went running in. And I ran into real estate at the worst time possible, which happened to be the best time possible. So it was tenacity. It was never giving up. It was understanding that money wasn't the most powerful tool in the toolbox. It was knowledge, if implemented, is the most powerful. And I just went for it. Plus I put 27 grand on my wife's credit cards. And it's like, you know, seriously, every time I even contemplated slowing down, my wife's 5'1", 5'2", 110 pounds soaking wet, right? And she scares the crap out of me when she's standing there with her arms crossed, tapping her foot. I'm 6'2", 220, you know what I mean? But truthfully, I purchased accountability that day. I invested in myself, and I made a commitment that, I was going to win no matter what. And not everybody has that tenacity, and they don't have to. You know, It's okay to passively invest, which is what our investors do in the fund and the commercial stuff that we do today. But I'm a bull. I'm 54 years old, and I feel like I'm 22. Get out of my way, here I come. You know, so that's just the way I approach everything.
Well, and the lesson too is leverage what you've got to add value, and then receive back what the universe gives you. Right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Back. And don't fall victim to imposter syndrome. You're out there doing it. You'll learn it. You'll get it. Receive what the universe is giving to you.
There's a generation right now that is absolutely primed for generational wealth. And I'm talking about the millennials. So my oldest boy is 26 years old. Yeah. And, he's earning $150,000 a year, working from his house, his apartment, because he doesn't have to go to the office. Right. He's a computer programmer. He just built all of the application platforms for the PPP for the company he works for. Smart as a whip and lazy as a son of a gun, right? Like I said to him, I said, come on, buddy, come into dad's business. Come into dad's business. And he's like, Dad, I don't need to. And I'm like, why? Well, what do you mean? He said, Dad, he inherited some property, and I've been a hard money lender with his capital for years, right? I've turned this kid's money over quite a few times. He says, Dad, you invest my money. He said, so my money grows while I sleep, right? First of all, he said, plus you've never lost one dime of my money, and it's always grown at double-digit returns, number one. He said, and then number two, I kind of enjoy what I do for work, and I don't have to work too hard. He said, number three, I like to play video games in my underwear. He goes, Dad, I live with my girl. I'm happy. And I thought to myself, you know, happiness isn't defined by money, but that generation is primed to create. Like my son, Robert, is one kind of millennial, but then there's another kind of millennials. And they're the ones that are creating, reinventing. The computer is the most powerful tool you have right now. We're on StreamYard. Well, it's a streaming service. People are watching, you know, our beautiful faces, sharing beautiful information, and they can get it live, record it, repurpose it, educate, create a community. So it's an interesting world in which we live. But I don't know, Kerry. I'm old school too. I like to press the flesh, you know, break a little bread, look my investors in the eyes. I'm actually flying over to the Netherlands, fingers crossed. Just started a communication with an international soccer player. Really cool guy. Guess where I met him? Clubhouse. Right? I just said to him, I said, look, brother, you sell those condos, right? Yeah. Get all your cash back. We'll put them into our fund, into our commercial real estate deals. Plus, it gives me a really good reason to fly over to Amsterdam and you know, hang out for a couple of days. So
yeah, Clubhouse has been an amazing tool for other investors to connect with investors, and even if you're brand new, like perfect platform for networking. Because with COVID, a lot of the meetups got shut down this year. A lot of the Rios were shut down, and so now you've got Clubhouse. Man, there's just so much information on there. So if you're a new person starting out and investing, it is like, take advantage of this platform to start meeting and and doing deals. I mean, there's been deals being done inside Clubhouse, which I love.
I'm very early in negotiations, but I was asked to be on the pitch tank panel.
Oh yeah,
with my friend Kevin Harrington, Damon John, a few other guys were on there, and Matty Andrews is a machine on Clubhouse. But one guy got up there and he pitched an idea around real estate investing, and it's absolutely a gem of an idea. And I'm in the middle right now of fleshing out details to you know, brand it out, legitimize his idea. Kevin Harrington's coming in with some franchise model ideas. It's amazing. That could be a really, really great win-win, both for this guy who pitched on Clubhouse, and us also as, you know, VCs and branders on the back end of it. And it's just a great place to create some good win-wins. You got to be careful of the phonies, though. You know, not everybody on there's got to be a billionaire. I'm a billionaire. I got a book. No, I'm a billionaire. I got a book. I got a coaching program and a book, and I'm a billionaire. All right, I got a coaching program, a book, a billionaire, and a really, really fast jet. All right, you win. You got it. You know what I mean? It's like, come on. So it's interesting. It's interesting for sure.
I'd love to talk about now what you've got going on in your business. If we can go over some deals that you're doing, and like, let's talk about some deals.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. So January of this year, I was launching. I was about 2-3 months into launching a hard money lending business. I had 7 loan originators, had about 15-16 million in the pipe for lending. With the TV show and the exposure and the education, I have a national database of buy, fix, and flippers who are always looking to borrow capital. So it looked really good. I mean, I was excited. It was an incipient business 3 months in, and I was working off of a $50 million line of credit, and that line of credit had to be ripped and paid back within 3 days of closing the deal through title. And the way that we did that was we had partners in New York, Wall Street, that were buying the notes on the secondary market. Then comes this thing called COVID in March. As soon as COVID hit, Wall Street went Nah, we're done. We're out of here. I'm
Good.
like, what do you mean you're out of here? If you're out of here, I'm out of business. And, I was out of business in 3 days, Kerry. 3 days I was done. And it was a pretty scary time. I'd invested quite a bit of capital, time building that business. So what I did was I licked my wounds for about 24 hours, cried for another 24, then got up and said, okay, well, what's next? And what I realized was this, and I think this is important for people to hear, especially in this climate that we're in right now. He or she who controls the capital is going to win the race, okay? Mm-hmm. So I looked at it and I said, well, if I control capital, what am I going to do with it, right? What am I going to do with it? What's the safest, best way to get a return on capital now? And it's commercial real estate. If you look at the numbers of multifamilies, and when I say multifamily, I'm talking apartments. We invest in 40 to 150 unit apartment complexes. Okay. When you look at that, based on the way that we buy them, fix them up or reposition them, we call them, cash flow them, and then sell them maybe 3, 5, 7 years later, whatever. When you look at that business model, the returns on that model has outperformed anything. Stock market, office, industrial, gold. It's outperformed all of them when you do a T20 look back, 20 years look back. So that's what I decided to do. Put the very best team together. My partner, Walter Novicki's down in Fort Myers. Walter's got over 25 years of doing development in the Gulf Coast region of Florida, Fort Myers all the way up to Orlando. He's raised $125 million in private equity, accredited investor capital in his career. And now this is important. He spent it, $250 million worth of transactions, paid it back to his investors with all the targeted returns. So the model's already proven. I said, all right, I'm in, Walter. Let's build this business. So what we did was we launched Freedom Venture Investments, and we have 2 strategies that we have for our investors. The first of which is a private equity fund. So we're raising $100 million. That fund buys not just one complex, but it buys as many complexes as we can for the amount of capital we have. These are 40 to 150 B-class assets, Gulf Coast region of Florida, and it's what's called a core plus strategy for us. So core means it cash flows when we buy it. Plus means there's still an opportunity to do some repositioning or fixing up. So what does that mean? That means getting the bad management out because they cost too much. They don't know how to manage. They don't know how to deal with tenants. They don't know how to market. And then the other side of the equation is increase rents and lease up empty units. So that goes on in the fund. The fund pays what's called a 6% pref to the investors. So they get the first 6% profit on their money. And then they get targeted returns after that of 10 to 14% quarterly distributions and 75% of the profit when we sell on the back end. So that all happens in the fund. Now, what we're also doing now, because the deals are so good, the deal flow is ridiculous. The ones that don't meet the fund requirement, we do what are called sidecar deals. So I have a deal right now, which I'm raising capital for. I have a deal right now. We're doing a deal in Eustis, which is about 15 minutes north of Orlando.
Yeah, that's close.
And up there we've got an 81 unit acquisition up there, which is under contract. We're in contract now. We finished walking all the units. We're just in final due diligence, getting our final construction numbers together. But I'll pull it up so I make sure I got so many going on. This is the last one I was looking at today that we're doing.
I have some questions.
Yeah.
I want to hear about this deal, and then I have some questions that I think that the listeners probably have these same questions. I'm going to write them down so I don't forget.
Yeah. So the 81 unit complex that we have under agreement or is in contract right now, it's got an acquisition. It's 81 units, 2 complexes. Okay. It's a 50. I do this every time. 26 and 50, 51 and 20. What's the math? 50.
I'm terrible at math.
Oh my God.
Just to show you don't have to be good at math to be a good real estate investor. Calculators.
It's fifth grade math. It's 52 units and 26.
I tried teaching my math to my 3rd grader the other day because they're homeschooled, and I'm like, Screw this. I can't do this. Just get the calculator.
Well, I've got my cheat sheet right here. So the first of the two complexes is 55 units. It's a 55 and a 26. So the 55 is 6 two-story apartment buildings. It's on 3.5 acres. Eustis, Florida. Now, this was built in 71. Now, this is not inside our fund buy box because it's kind of like a B- rather than a B+ type asset for us. However, all of the Florida hurricane code work has already been done. So all the big ticket items have been finished on it. It's got a nice, attractive unit mix of 16 one-bed, 1-bath. The money is in the 2-bed, 2-bath, and then 16 3-bed, 1-bath. This is all workforce housing. This is not palm trees, bikinis, nice swimming pools, cabanas.
I know Eustis. It's very working class over there.
Yeah, it's a really solid working class, and because it's so close to the villages, which, as you know, is the #1 55 and over community in the country. There's no challenge for us with regard to tenancy on there. So that's the first of it. It's a 55 unit, nice property, some interior work, some minor upgrades, nothing crazy on that one. So that's a purchase price on that one will be at about $6,325,000 plus the construction. So we'll just round it up to $7 million for now. So it's a $7 million acquisition. We are walking into an assumptive loan on the 55. So we don't have to go out and qualify for another loan. So we can walk into the loan on that one. Our first lien position is all set with our bank in. They're ready to go. They want to take this one down. So Eustis is a great neighborhood for us. And then the second one is Leesburg, which is close to this one here. Leesburg is a cute little complex. It is. It
has a very cute downtown. They have lots of events.
Yeah.
A bike week similar to Daytona.
Yeah, it's nice in Leesburg. Walter, when he walked the properties, we always walk the community, right? We drive the community. We want to see where we're getting involved. And he said, this thing is awesome. He's all excited about this little 26 unit as part of this portfolio. So he's happy. So anyway, again, still workforce housing for us, 4 one-bedroom units, 18 2-bath, and then 4 3-bedroom units. Not so much in the way of heavy lifting on here. There's quite a bit of construction that's already taken place. Again, as you know, being in Florida, everything's code, right? Are you up to hurricane code, which we are on this one? So that's a nice property. They've done a nice job on some of the interior. There's still some apartments or units that still need to be taken care of. So anyway, let's take a look at the numbers. We're raising $3 million on cash to close. Me, us, the GP, we're putting up 10% of that equity. So I'm stroking a check for $300,000 as part of this transaction. The rest of that will come from accredited investors. Our accredited investors, as you know, $200,000 a year or more, 300 as a family, or $1 million in net worth, sophisticated investors. So the total acquisition and the $3 million raise, the targeted returns on this one, year one, is 12 to 13. It's a 2-year, 3-year hold. It's not a long-term hold. We'll be in and out in a couple of years. So 12% year one, 10% year one, targeted up to a 12.2% year 3. The IRR, the internal rate of return, we're targeting out at 31.2. And the multiplier on this one's coming in at about 1.8. So it's a sweet little deal. We've just set up what's called a data room for our investors who are interested. They'll get an email notification. They can go in and look at all of the data and the underwriting on the asset going forward. Bread and butter, sweet little deal. So we have the fund, and then we do these sidecar deals as well. How'd I do? I did all right on the delivery.
You did. So I have a couple of questions. So first off, I want to know, you've been doing this for quite a bit. You're doing some big numbers here. So listeners, I don't want you to get bogged down by the numbers, because I think sometimes like new investors, they start hearing millions.
Oh yeah, let's freak out. Yeah.
But I just want to set the stage here that Dave has been in this game for a little while. What kind of license do you have to put these kinds of deals together, Dave?
Great question. First of all, you have to be Securities and Exchange Commission compliant. Yeah. So as a general partner, I need to go out and get what's called a Regulation 506C, Reg D 506C approval. So an investor will have to read through what's called the PPM that we present to them, which stands for Private Placement Memorandum. And basically what a private placement memorandum says, Kerry, and I love this, it says, you can lose every single dime under the sun. Only do this if you have confidence in the deal and the people. You can lose money. You can lose all your money. Don't invest money you can't afford to lose. It's like it screams to tell people not to do it. And I tell you what, I love that. Because what I then get are intelligent investors on the back end, right? I don't get people who are rolling the dice thinking they're pulling the handle on a slot machine at Vegas. So we need to be approved by the Securities and Exchange Commission. Walter is a licensed contractor in Florida, so we don't really pull his GC license into the deals, but it allows us to know what the heck we're doing when we're dealing with our contractors. And then experience. It's experience. You know, I've been in this game for 13, 14 years now. Walter, like I said, 25 years just in the Gulf Coast region of Florida. So, you know, we look at 20 deals a week and only put letters out on maybe 2 of them. So, you know, it's
question, because I think that even though you're talking big numbers, you're talking deals where you have to have certain license to do it. People can still go out and find these deals, right? And then they've got you where they can flip the deal if they really want to. How are you finding these deals? How are you finding these mismanaged potential where the deals have potential?
Yeah, look, I don't want to burst anyone's bubble, but you're only going to get the deals that we passed on. That's it, right? So what's going on, and we're seeing it more and more now. We're now beginning to have our banking relationship to knocking on the door, and they're saying, you know, this one's in foreclosure, this one's in default, this one just wants out. You can buy it for what's owed on it. We might even take a loss on this one if you can close in 45 days. So we're getting those inbound calls from the financial institutions. And then I would say a 3-to-1 ratio, 1 being the banking institutions, and the other 3 on that ratio are coming from what we call pocket listings. Okay. So the pocket listing is the mom and pop organization that bought it because somebody told them it was a good idea 15 years ago. They've never raised the rents. They're scared silly about COVID. They don't have any reserves. They don't know how to manage. They're just drowning and they just want out. So, you know, they call the local commercial realtor, and the local commercial realtor says, oh, I got the guys who buy that stuff. Let me give them a call. Walter's phone rings. We're the first ones to get into the underwriting and put a letter of intent on them. So we have zero outbound marketing right now. It's That's all awesome. Inbound calls. Look, we're blessed. You're not dealing with
networking, credibility, just getting out there.
Yeah. You know, he's been known as the closer his whole career. If Walter says he's coming to the table, he's coming to the table. And there's a lot of BS out there. There's a lot of people who talk big games, right? Look at me, look at me, look at me. It's the ones that are kind of like in the shadows, just closing deals. I've got a funding source out of New York. He closed $7.2 billion in private equity as a money broker out of New York last year. He's already got like 84 million closed just in January alone. Like these are the guys that are getting it done, right? So it's kind of it's an interesting world for sure.
My next question is, what are some like key indicators of a property being mismanaged?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, when we look at the financials, the expense ratio is always a screaming number for us. We see an expense ratio, you know, larger than say 40%. You start getting to 45, 50% expense ratios on these properties, it means there's something drastically wrong. A lot of the times the problem is salaried positions that are paying way too much money. So we always zone in on that. The inability to shop your contracts, your insurance, your cable TV, you know, all of those kinds of things. So we look at all of those numbers. And then once we get in there with our team and we get our numbers, we can drop those expense ratios by 5%, 10%. That's a huge value add. Huge value add. You know, it just blows up our monthly cash flow. And then on the back end, with net operating income being the number that we're always trying to increase, because the net operating increases the actual value of the property. These things they're only valued on what they bring in money. Doesn't matter how pretty they are, how ugly they are, how much money do they bring in, because that's their valuation. So yeah, definitely expenses is one place that we go. And we look for deferred maintenance, deferred maintenance. Does the place look good when you drive by it? No, then that's deferred maintenance. That's a potential property. So those are some of the things that we look for right out of the gate.
And you also talked about, it sounds like the 2 deals that you're doing right now, they're in working class neighborhoods. And I have a question, because this actually got brought up in Clubhouse last night. Someone asked, how do you determine whether a property falls into an A neighborhood, a B neighborhood? You even said B+, B- neighborhood. What's your thought on that? Because I know it can sometimes be very subjective, but I'm wondering, do you have financials and key indicators that put them into different classifications for neighborhoods?
Yeah, great questions. Yeah. So 1990 to 2005 is basically a B class asset for us, right?
Okay.
However, the property I just shared with you was built in 1971. It's still like a B- for us because it's had the majority of the deferred maintenance done, the big stuff, the ACs, the roofs, those kinds of things. The next thing you want to do, and you summed it up beautifully, the 26 units, the smaller one in Leesburg, that's actually a B+ in almost an A- type neighborhood around there, because the downtown is so sexy, because there's so much attraction in that area, the little shops, the stores, all the fluffy stuff that people love. That has the potential for us to buy it as a B+, B asset. We might exit out of that as a condo exit strategy because the neighborhood is going that well in that direction. So the name of the game is year bought, finishes, quality. And if you listened, I also said Walter doesn't just walk the properties, he drives the neighborhoods.
Right.
You don't want to be the very best property in the I nearly said shit. You're not allowed to say shit when you go live.
You're allowed to swear. No, you're allowed to swear.
Right. Okay. So
you don't want to be dropping F-bombs every other sentence.
Just one every now and again.
You're from Boston, so when my husband started working in Boston, he came back swearing like 10 times more than he usually did. He's like, I'm just around it all the time.
There's a study that went out there that people who use profanity a lot are more passionate and more honest than people who don't. So that's my theory, and I'm going to fucking stick with it. All right. So
Bostonians are passionate and genuine.
We'll tell you what we think. That's for sure. So, we're always looking for the neighborhood as well. You don't want the very best property in the shittiest neighborhood, because you can't bring everything up around you. But when you can find that property that hasn't got the love that it deserves, and it's in a Leesburg type area, well, now you're on a winner chicken dinner right there. You're gonna make that thing hum. You know what I mean? So that's how we determine those different asset classes. And the A-type property, well, that's easy. That's the best gym. That's the office space built into the community. That's the front door guy with his T-shirt and his jams on parking your Ferrari. You know what I'm saying? So, those are easy to determine. However, they have very little equity in them. Those are purely just a park and get your 3% return on your money and don't complain. Right. But the A-class assets, for those of your listeners who investigate those groups, be very, very careful. And here's why. The average A-class asset has got a cap rate of around, maybe 4.5. And a cap rate really means, in layman's terms, a return on investment. What do I expect to get on my money? So an investor says, you know what, I'm going to put 20 grand it's 20 million. They'll say, I'll put 20 million down in this nice A-class asset, and I'm okay getting 4 or 5% return. But here's the challenge: with the amount of money that has been printed and dumped into the economy, will inflation overrun a 4.5–5% return? And a lot of the intelligent economists out there are saying yes. So that's why we go for a minimum of 6 targeted double-digit returns, because I know my investors are going to be safe. That's the goal that we have. So, there's a lot going on. You got to pay attention. You got to pay attention.
And it sounds like you guys do a lot of working class neighborhoods. Is that your bread and butter? Is that your sweet spot?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm closing on a little 8-unit complex, which is Class A condos.
Okay.
But I got them for such a great price. I'm not walking away from them, right? I'm not walking away from them. They came through a probate resource that we have. So the fund itself, its buy box is very, very defined. When we get outside of the fund, then I can get a little creative. I can do value adds. I can do things that need a little more love and attention going forward. So we've got choices. We are only niched or targeted on our geographic area, which is the Gulf Coast region. If you give me a deal in the Carolinas or Texas, if it's a screamer, I'll buy it. But other than that, I got so many leads coming in the door, I can't buy them all now. So why do I need to go somewhere else?
That's a good point to bring up. How important is it to niche down and become dominant in one area? Because I think a lot of investors spread themselves too thin. They start going into other places before they really become dominant. And the area that you're talking about is not that big of an area. It's actually
it is. Well, it is a big of an area when you figure we go from Orlando all the way down to Fort Myers. So I'm all secondary and tertiary markets.
But it's only on the coast.
So if you take Route 41 up the coast, and then I-75 up the middle of the state, if you draw a line or a swath, if you will, between those two, I promise you, Kerry, there's plenty of deals to do in that marketplace. I don't have to go picking anywhere else right now. So, niching is important. Look, you can go find an organization right now. It wouldn't take you long. You could just Google it and they'll show you, I've got $2.5 billion under management. I've got $10 billion under management. I'm in Orlando. I'm in Texas. I'm in West Virginia. They're all over the country. And no right or wrong, right? No right or wrong. For us at Freedom Venture, we made a conscious decision when we started this journey that we're going to niche in. We're going to be the very, very best in this area, so I don't make mistakes elsewhere, and also to be accessible, right? Mm-hmm. Accessible. I'm the CEO of this company. I wear a lot of hats, but the most important hat I wear is accessibility. When one of my investors needs to, touch gloves and have a conversation, I make it a point to do that because I look at every investor that comes in with us as a business partner, So it's, we're niche. We're a boutique investment firm is what we are.
Boutique. You're also very fancy.
I am, aren't I? Isn't it nice when my English comes out?
Fancy accents and words.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm the unfanciest dude I ever met. Trust me.
I love it. Jason Alves says, we have 25,000 buyers. Send them here. You're not wholesaling any of these deals, are you?
No, if they're good enough, I'm buying them. Sorry, Jay.
I had a feeling you're not wholesaling any of these.
Yeah, whatever's left over is stuff that we don't want. So if I don't want it, you probably don't want it.
Yeah, no, this is all good stuff and I know, again, you guys don't get bogged down by the numbers. Just listen to the details that we're talking about because this all applies to any kind of investment property where you want to find a property that's being mismanaged. This is a great exit strategy, is to go in there, fix it up, get the right management in place, get it cash flowing, and sell it in 3 to 7 years. It's just an excellent strategy, even if you're talking about single family or small multi-units. It doesn't have to be multi-million-dollar deals, right?
Right. Yeah. Think of this as a concept, and this was drilled into my head from the guy who trained me, who showed me what apartment investing was all about, and he had 7,000 doors at the time that I kind of studied underneath him. And he said to me, David, he said, real estate is just numbers. He said, if you put more zeros on the acquisition price, then there's more zeros on the profit price. He said, so get that off of your broke mentality plate. First of all, He said, and then understand this from a big picture standpoint. He said, every market has its own individual capitalization rate at which these assets trade. Boston apartments will trade at a 3.5, 4 cap. New York used to be compressed. It's actually coming up a little bit now because the inventory's there. But, you know, the Florida market, 6.5, 6 cap rate. So if it's a 6 cap rate, for every $1 I increase the value, the NOI, I increase the value of the property by $6. For every $1 I decrease the expenses, I increase the value of the asset by $6. So it's a $12 investment in a 6 cap market when we increase NOI from income and increase NOI by decreasing expenses. It really is, in my opinion, a legitimate way to print money. Mm-hmm. But you got to know what you're doing. If it's just a crapshoot, if you're an amateur and you haven't got the systems and the team and the business plan and the foresight to get in, get out, and get paid, then people can get hurt. And the people that are getting hurt are the people that are selling to us right now. So, you know, I didn't create the rules, but you bet your ass I'm going to play the game.
Well, cool. This was all great stuff. And thank you again so much, Dave, for coming on. Where can people find you if they want to just connect with you?
Yeah. Look, I'm old school. You can actually pick up a phone and call me. The phone number I'm old school. 781.
You can leave a voicemail where you're going to listen to the voicemail.
I'm going to listen. I've actually, some people are still calling my beeper. I got a beeper for AT&T. No, I don't have a beeper anymore. Jesus Christ, I'm old. No, call me 781-922-4418. Obviously, I've got a live call taker, but just say, hey, I heard you're kibitzing with Kerry. I'd like more information. We'll touch gloves with you. You can always go to freedomventure.com, info@freedomventure.com for an email. But if you go to my website, it's probably the best place to go because there we got a ton of education, some great interviews there. I did a podcast with Jack Canfield, my buddy from Chicken Soup for the Soul, just like a mindset for entrepreneurs podcast. A lot of business podcasts, time with Kevin Harrington, our business partner in this venture. So I always want investors to be educated first. Because an educated investor has a sincere expectation. You know, the guy who's just throwing $5,000 into a Reg A fund, which accepts lower amounts of money, you know, that's just, I don't know. It's just not setting a good expectation for everyone. So, yeah, you can get me at the phone number. You can get me at the website. Just Google that shit, man. Just Google Dave Seymour, Seymour. You'll find me. I'm not hiding anywhere.
Awesome. And you have a radio show that I'm honored that I'm going to get to be on your Boston radio show in March.
You are. You make sure your husband tells all his Boston buddies, my lady is being interviewed on Real Estate Revealed, 104.9 FM, North Shore Radio. We're a niche market up here, but North Shore is perfect because that's where a ton of the money is. So the folks that listen to the show get great value from your journey as well, especially because you're a roadie girl at heart. You know what I mean?
I'm definitely going to have to be practicing my accent for that one because if they hear my Southern accent, they're going to be like, who's this Southerner?
Who's this girl? She's
from Rhode Island.
She's not from Rhode Island. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to having you on there. That'll be fun.
All the time.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be a good call. And we don't have to look beautiful on that call either. It's radio, so we can just record. It's good.
Oh, perfect. I won't do my hair then for that.
I won't do mine either. I won't do mine either. Good stuff.
All right. Awesome. Well, you guys, I hope you got something of value out of this. Make sure you are following Dave. Get in contact with him. If something resonated with you, connect with him. He's a giver. He's an action taker. He's doing some big deals. I love your story. And I can now see why you're a celebrity on Flipping Boston. I would have reached out to you too if I had the show.
It's a good time. It's a good. You know what? The day that I started this journey, I made a commitment, and I said, if I'm not having fun, I'm not doing it anymore. I was miserable for a long time, so if I ain't having fun, I'm not playing. I'm not playing in the sandbox. So I have fun today, and that's important.
Yeah. I'm sure you're still putting out fires. It's just different kinds of fires.
Just different fires. Yeah. Now I say people's financial lives instead of their physical lives.
Right. All right, y'all.
Y'all.
Guys, this was a wicked fun time with Dave Seymour.
It was.
We'll see you all on the next show. Remember, you are only one deal away. See you next time.